Nordstrom has built its reputation by providing a superior quality product along with outstanding service to their customers. As a barista for the specialty coffee division, you will need to become an expert in crafting perfect shots of espresso, as they are the foundation for many of our beverages. To help you develop that expertise, there are 6 critical steps to brewing perfect shots that you will need to master, and the purpose of this video is to introduce you to each one of those steps. As we go through the demonstrations, keep in mind that while every bar will have the same equipment, like the espresso bar, grinder, and so forth, the makes and models of these items will most likely vary from what you will see here, and your manager will need to reinforce the practices shown on this video by demonstrating them using your particular equipment as well. The first step towards a perfect shot is to make sure you are starting off with the proper dose of espresso. If you're using the wrong amount, your shots won't be perfect no matter how well you follow the other 5 steps. The Nordstrom Specialty Coffee Standard is 16 grams of espresso, and your bar will have a digital scale on hand for measuring this. Before starting, make sure that your scale is on the grams readout, and that you have reset the scale to 0 while your plate is in place, so that only the mass of the espresso is being measured. Should your dose register 16 grams 3 times in a row, no adjustment to your grinder dose is needed. Should the dosage be wrong or inconsistent, you will most likely need to manually adjust how much espresso is being dispensed, and your manager will demonstrate how to do this for the particular grinder model in your store. We check the dosage weight at least 3 times a day, always once in the morning before we even open for business, and then at least 2 more times throughout the day to make sure that the grinder is performing consistently. Once we know we're starting with the right amount of espresso, throughout the day you also need to make sure your espresso machine is using the correct amount of water to brew your shots. For such a finicky final product, the shots you will be serving only have 2 ingredients, water and espresso, so it is critical that the proper amount of each is being used. The shot glasses you'll use should all have a white line marking a 1 ounce level, and when the proper amount of water is being dispensed, the bottom of the crema on your shots should be just touching the top of the white line on your shot glass. For this eyeball test to be accurate, make sure you're placing your shot glasses on a level surface so that you can properly assess the volume. Your manager will walk you through how to adjust the water level on your particular bar in case the volume ever deviates from the standard. This step is also something that is checked every day before opening and then again periodically throughout the day in order to maintain consistency. Simply dosing espresso into a portafilter is not enough to produce a perfect shot. It must be evenly packed down so that water will flow uniformly through the espresso and extract the desired flavor. This process is called tamping. The espresso dose must be tamped twice, using a minimum of 40 pounds of pressure each time. In between tamps, use the top of your tamper to knock any loose espresso back towards the center of the portafilter, and then your second tamp must be finished with a twist in order to create an even seal with the espresso machine. Also, after tamping, but before inserting the portafilter into the group head, any remaining loose grounds of espresso on the rim or tabs of the portafilter must be wiped off. This will make sure the portafilter makes a clean seal with the group head, and it will extend the overall life of your espresso machine. The 4th step to brewing a perfect shot is shot timing. Timing each and every shot is extremely important. If they pour too quickly, the resulting flavor will be thin and weak. Too slow, and they will be overpowering and bitter. With our standards for dosage weight, water levels, and tamping, espresso that takes between 20 to 25 seconds to extract will contain an optimum flavor profile. Once you have the correct dosage and tamp, you will insert and lock your portafilter into the group head. Make sure you press the brew button on your machine and the start button on your timer at exactly the same time. When the espresso machine clicks, signaling that extraction is complete, hit the stop button on your timer. Remember, a perfect shot of espresso will finish between 20 and 25 seconds, and we only serve shots that have extracted within that time range. In some bars, the espresso machine will have a built-in timer for each group head, and while it is still a good idea to have manual timers on hand in case this feature should ever malfunction, the manual timers may not be necessary for each and every shot. Your manager will review with you the shot timing practices for your particular bar. Step 5 of brewing a perfect shot of espresso is grind adjusting. If your espresso shots did not extract between 20 to 25 seconds, but you know you're using the right dose, water level, and tamp, then you may need to adjust your grind. If your shots are pulling too fast, you will need to make the grind finer, and if they are pulling too slow, you will make the grind coarser. It's important that you do not make large adjustments to your grinder. Most often, only a very small change will be needed to get your shots back within the needed time range. For this Mazer brand grinder, grind adjustments are made by rotating this collar, and it is labeled to show in which direction to adjust for the desired effect. Oftentimes, it is also a good idea to manually mark this collar with a starting point that indicates the grind setting that most frequently will provide those perfect shots. Of course, there are many different grinders out there in the market, and while the principle remains the same, the actual practice of adjusting the grind in your store might vary from what you see here. The true test of perfect espresso is the taste. Tasting the finished product is essential to making sure that you are serving a quality shot of espresso and that your machine is clean and running properly. There are a few things to look for when tasting a perfect shot. The first is aroma. Your espresso should smell slightly sweet, not bitter. Then there are two parts of actually tasting the espresso, noticing how the flavor starts as well as how it finishes. When the espresso first hits your tongue, it should have a clean and almost crisp character to it. As you finish, the flavor should be smooth yet robust, with a slight sweetness from the crema. There should not be a lingering or bitter flavor in the middle or back of your tongue. Describing the taste to you, though, can only get you started. Really learning the proper taste of our espresso comes from constant practice and tasting with others, as they may be able to help you